I get paid to point out the ironies and absurdities of cyber terrorism. I do my job to the best of my ability. So, I'm going to talk about Linda Franklin, a woman who died recently in an act of physical terrorism. Now, let's make sure we understand my use of the term physical terrorism. Perhaps you've heard about a sniper running amok in the Washington, D.C. region? Children in the Washington, D.C. region no longer go outside for recess because school officials fear the playground will entice a sniper's bullet. One of my most trusted sources tells me her firm won't force employees to fly to the D.C. region even for a critical meeting. Those who do go to the D.C. region are warned to stay indoors as much as possible, to keep the shades drawn, to sit away from windows, and to order room service to avoid needless public exposure. Avoid needless public exposure. Ding dong! Get the door, it's Domino's! I'll cover you! Be sure to tip the brave soul who risked his life to deliver your pizza. Man, I wish I got paid to point out those ironies and absurdities. Our society feels terrified at the prospect of winning a headshot lottery in the D.C. region. FBI's website admits a sniper paralyzed the Washington area with fear. The FBI alone assigned nearly 400 agents to hunt for the hunter before Linda Franklin's brains splattered onto her husband's feet in a parking lot. I get paid to point out the ironies and absurdities of cyber terrorism. I do my job to the best of my ability, and my job forces me to answer 3 important questions. Number 1, who is Linda Franklin? Number 2, why is Franklin's death so ironic? And number 3, what will come of the irony of Franklin's death? Page 2. We can answer the first question by tapping into reports about the sniper attacks. My local fish wrapper ran a newswire on the front page, above the fold as they say, complete with a smiling picture of Franklin. The latest victim, linked to the sniper by ballistics evidence Tuesday, worked as an analyst at the National Infrastructure Protection Center, or FBI NIPSI, in Washington. The unit seeks to identify and block cyber threats to the nation's critical information systems. An FBI eulogy notes Linda Franklin, age 47, was an intelligence operations specialist in the cyber division at headquarters and had worked for the FBI for 3.5 years. Her intelligence operations job title pegs her as a cyber terror analyst. A somber blurb in Security Wire Digest describes the dead woman this way. Franklin, 47, has worked at NIPSI nearly since its inception in 1998 and recently was assigned to the FBI's new Cyber Division, a unit created this summer to investigate and prosecute Internet-based crimes. Franklin also played an instrumental role in the creation and development of InfraGuard, a program that coordinates infosecurity information exchanges between the public and private sectors. So, to answer the first question, Franklin worked for FBI NIPSI as a cyber terror analyst. Page 3. This leads us to the second question. Why is Franklin's death so ironic? Obviously, we can find irony in the fact a cyber terror analyst died in an act of physical terrorism. Why else would Security Wire Digest publish a story about a sniper victim? FBI's website admits a sniper paralyzed the Washington area with fear, and the record will show no cyber terrorist has ever accomplished such a feat. Like I said, you'll find massive irony in Franklin's death. But her ironic job description doesn't fully answer the second question. You'll find an important irony in cause and effect if you think about it. Now, longtime listeners to my column know that I routinely criticize FBI's National Infrastructure Protection Center. We at VMyths, that's where I work, more accurately describe FBI NIPSI as the National Internet Protection Center. The FBI and many other federal agencies want to equate cyber terrorism with physical terrorism. They desperately want to equate the two. I could go into a long dissertation, but I'll sum it up for you in simple terms. Washington's warhawks needed to keep themselves occupied in the 1990s after the collapse of the Soviet Union. They needed something close to home and something everyone could suffer. The internet came along, so they made up cyber terrorism for numerous political reasons. Those who led the cyber terrorism charge did it for self-serving reasons. for example, out of vanity and or greed. Now, before the Twin Towers fell, Washington bureaucrats viewed cyber terrorism as a ticket punch for a first-class ride on the greedy gravy train of Internet security. Clinton appointee Richard Clarke, Senator Robert Bennett, Congressman Curt Weldon, Deputy Secretary of Defense John Hamre, FBI NIPSI founding director Michael Vatis, CIA analyst Terrell Maynard, and Beltway bandit James Adams all played to the media's insatiable fetish for cyber terror stories. Page 4. After the Twin Towers fell, Washington bureaucrats viewed cyber terrorism in a new light. Yes, they still saw it as a selfish ticket punch for a first-class ride on the greedy gravy train of Internet security. More importantly, though, Washington bureaucrats saw cyber terrorism as a way to divert the attention of gullible U.S. reporters who might otherwise investigate what real terrorism experts do to neutralize real terrorism. Let's make sure we understand this. Washington spoon-feeds a healthy dose of cyber terrorism to reporters, hoping they won't do any investigative stories on real terrorism. Washington knows a spoon-fed reporter is almost always a happy reporter. The antivirus industry knows it too, but let's not digress. FBI NIPSI plays an important new role since 9/11 as a media clown. They exist in part to spoon-feed reporters. I should note that Richard Clarke, who is now a Bush appointee, plays a similar role for the White House. But the importance of FBI NIPSI's new role came at a hefty price. FBI unceremoniously kicked them out of the Hoover Building after 9/11 to make room for hundreds of agents who investigate real terrorism. We can now complete the answer to the second question. Franklin's death will almost certainly force FBI NIPSI to ironically, I repeat, ironically, divert its cyber terror resources to track down a low-tech sociopath who blows people's heads off. Now, I'll wager the internal pressure to divert FBI NIPSI's resources exceeds any ironic external pressure. If I worked in the same cubicle farm as Franklin, I'd want to stop hunting down hackers and virus writers just long enough to find the sniper who killed my coworker. If I worked as an FBI cyber terror analyst, I'd stare at myself in the mirror each morning and ask, do I really do as much to stop terrorism in America as a guy working on the sniper task force? And if I worked at FBI NIPSI, I'd grumble at the water cooler about the fact so few of my coworkers carry guns and handcuffs on duty. Page 5. And so we reach the third question. What will come of the irony of Franklin's death? Before I answer this question, I want you to know how much it pains me to spout a truthful answer here. I get paid to point out the ironies and absurdities of cyber terrorism, and I do my job to the best of my ability. So I will not flinch on this third question. What will come of the irony of Franklin's death? Answer, nothing. Now, don't get me wrong. The fact of Franklin's death will serve a purpose. The irony of her death will not. Washington will do everything in its power to find Franklin's killer, and Washington will do everything in its power to equate cyber terrorism with physical terrorism. Cyber terror experts will conveniently ignore the irony of her assassination, just as they ignored the irony of Ray Downey's death last year in the World Trade Center attack. For those of you who don't know it, Ray Downey was a cyber terror expert for the Congress. He died in the World Trade Center on 9/11. Downey received a bit of lip service from then Virginia Governor James Gilmore, after which cyber terror experts swept his ironic death under a rug. FBI Director Robert Mueller gave Franklin some lip service in a press release too, and I assure you the cyber terror experts will sweep her ironic death under a rug too. Oh, but Rob, you wail, you can't expect anyone to point out this kind of irony in a eulogy? Oh, fair enough, but you'll find no link to Franklin's eulogy on FBI NIPSI's website 3 days after FBI published it on their main site. Go out to VMyths, that's VMYTHS.com. We've got snapshots of day 1, day 2, and day 3 at FBI NIPSI's website. The rest of the world may disagree with me, but I believe cyber terror experts already started sweeping her ironic death under the rug. The irony of Franklin's death will go to the grave with her. It's that embarrassing. Page 6. Mark my words, folks. FBI NIPSI and other government agencies will continue to equate cyber terrorism with physical terrorism. The Senate and the House will continue to hold hearings where a parade of experts will lay out their delusions. Corporate schmoes will continue to predict Osama bin Laden will unleash a computer virus in his next attack. Beltway reporters will move their keyboards away from Windows to avoid sniper fire, and then they'll continue to file breathless stories about the dire threat of cyber terrorism. Franklin's gravestone will weather away in obscurity. Washington will treat her as if she died of cancer, or in an auto accident, or in some other way not ironic to her cyber terror analysis job at FBI NIPSI. The Beltway, Franklin's alma mater, abhors the very irony her gravestone now represents. They'll find some way to rationalize her death so long as it doesn't include irony. And I imagine Washington's bureaucrats will find some way to poo-poo my anger. Why can't you just let Franklin lie in peace? You insult her memory by insinuating she served no purpose in life as a cyber terror analyst. ... Insult her memory? Hardly. I believe she did her job well. I believe she went to work each morning hoping she'd make the world a better place. I believe she marched home each night thinking she did make the world a better place. You'll find decent, hard-working people like Franklin all throughout the computer security arena. I believe Franklin made something of her life. The ultimate irony is that only a handful of computer security critics will remember the irony of her death. Cyber terror experts will purposely ignore it. But hey, that's the price you sometimes pay when you work in Washington. I'm Rob Rosenberger for vMyths. That's VMYTHS.com. Truth about computer virus hysteria. Be there or be scared. Au revoir, Linda.